Hey guys, um, I'm just going to do one last stream for today, and it's going to be on my Arthur DVD collection 2022 edition. Now, I'm not going to tell you the openings and closings to them, and you know why? Because there is a piece of paper taped on each of those DVDs that tells us what contents are on there. Your new episode idea is very cool. All right. Anyway, first up, we're going to start with 2003. Not at this precise moment, but I will let you know if I do come up with those. Until then, all right. Anyway, here's the first DVD release. By the way, this stream's going to be for Jeremy Barton as well. Anyway, without further ado, let's start. This is a 2003 DVD release of Arthur Cracks the Case. The release date is September 2nd of 2003. Well, I must admit, I was not really that sad yesterday. Because I knew that shows are over eventually. And the front cover right here is the picture of DW looking very worried, with a picture of Arthur looking confused, and there's also a picture of Buster and Pal, the dog, right there, and a little dog toy or dog treat on the front as well. If you look at the spine, it is light green with dark purple writing. And it's got Dash's PBS Kids logo on the spine. Here's the back. I'm going to read the description for those episodes, though. It's got DW's Snow Mystery from Season 1, Arthur's Mystery Envelope from Season 2, and Finders Keepers from Season 2. Now, for DW's Snow Mystery, it says, DW saves everything, but her most prized possession is a snowball from last winter. My snowball is gone! DW sniffles. It's time to find the culprit, and Detective Buster is on the case. Maybe it's Arthur. Maybe it's Grandma Flora. Maybe it's space aliens. Can anyone solve the case of the mysteriously vanishing snowball? And then for Arthur's Mystery Envelope, it says, when Mr. Haney gives Arthur a sealed envelope to bring home to Mom, Arthur fears the worst. His friends are only too eager to help him imagine what the worst might be. Is Arthur being sentenced to summer school? Does he have to give the envelope to Mom, or could he just sort of misplace it? And finders keepers. Arthur, Brain, and Binky find a key, but to what? The city, a brand new science museum, a brand new sports car, and which of them will get to keep whatever fabulous thing they find? When they decide to split it 50-50-50, the trouble really begins. Anyway, here are the sponsors, which are Libby's Juicy Juice, Post Alphabets, and Chuck E. Cheese's. Here's the disc for Arthur Cracks the Case. And then here, this paper tells us what contents are on there. This piece of paper on the left of that DVD, the piece of paper on the left of the DVD tells us what contents are on the DVD now, so there's no need to explain them anymore because this piece of paper says what's on there. Well, I wrote the document. My mom helped me print out the pieces of paper. And then we taped it all together. That's how we got the contents and stuff on the left of the DVD when you open it up, right there. All right. Next up is the 2005 DVD release of Arthur Gets Lost, released on June 14th of 2005, with 3 great adventures. And the spine has the front cover has Arthur looking very worried. There's also a bus on the front cover as well. The spine has Arthur and the PBS Kids logo, and it's dark blue with orange writing. Dark bluish indigo with orange writing. And as for Arthur Cracks the Case, the disc was also green but with blue writing on the disc. And it's got the episodes Arthur Gets Lost from season 2, and then Arthur Cleans Up and DW Gets Lost from season 1. Now, the description for Arthur Gets Lost says, Arthur is all set for his first solo ride on a public bus. He's got the exact fare and a book to read, but one thing he didn't count on is falling asleep. When he wakes up, Arthur finds himself in a strange and scary part of town. Will he ever find his way home? And will DW ever forgive him for scaring her like that? Then for Arthur Cleans Up, it says, Elwood City's park is in bad shape. There is garbage everywhere. After grumbling about it, the kids find themselves volunteering to clean it up. Even though it is a lot of work, and in the end, they all decide it feels great to make a difference. And then for DW Gets Lost, it says, if you think being lost in the humongous, super gigantic department store would scare a 4-year-old, think again. Lost while searching for the earrings of her dreams, DW wrecks havoc as she tries to find her way home. Now, what I really like is how the DVD releases of VHS releases released in like the late 90s had pictures of Buster, Francine, Arthur, and DW on the back cover. Like the 2000s DVD releases of VHS releases released in the late 90s had a picture of Buster, Francine, Arthur, and DW on the back cover. Here are the sponsors, and they are Chuck E. Cheese's and Rhodes 60-second cinnamon rolls. And here's the disc for Arthur Gets Lost. It's also dark bluish indigo with orange writing. And here are the contents on the disc on the piece of paper on the left side. Then we go to the 2003 DVD release of Arthur Gets Spooked, released on September 2nd, 2003. The front cover has a picture of Francine, Arthur, and Buster with a very worried expression reading a Scare Your Pants Off book. The spine has Dash's PBS Kids logo, and it's purple with yellow writing. Dark purple with yellow writing. It's got the episodes To Scare Your Pants Off Club from Season 1, Friday the 13th, and The Boy Who Cried Comet, which are both from Season 6, and they do contain the original Justin Bradley versions. And this DVD does contain the original Justin Bradley versions of both of those episodes. Now I'm going to read the description for them. For the Scare Your Pants Off Club, it says, Arthur and his friends develop a consuming passion for the Scare Your Pants Off books, a series of hair-raising, spine-tingling ghost stories. Long lines form at the library on Saturday mornings as everyone buys to get the latest edition. But a group called PAWS, Parents Against Weird Stories, wants to take the books away. Can the Scare Your Pants Off Club save the day? And then for Friday the 13th, it says Brain doesn't believe in superstitions, even though his friends step over sidewalk cracks and even Mr. Ratburn walks around ladders. So when Brain's defiance leads to a string of bad luck, he's stunned. Can he reverse the trend before the unluckiest day of them all, Friday the 13th? And then for The Boy Who Cried Comet, it says, Buster is convinced that he's seen real UFOs, and he uses Muffy's fancy new telescope to get the proof. What he discovers is much more terrifying, a comet hurtling directly toward Earth. Can Buster convince his friends that this sighting is real in time for them to save the planet? And by the way, here are the sponsors. Libby's Juicy Juice, Post Alphabets, and Chuck E. Cheese's. Here's the disc. For Arthur Gets Spooked, it's yellow with dark purple writing on the disc. And here's the piece of paper that says the contents on the DVD. All right. Next up, I have the 2005 DVD release of Arthur Goes Crosswire, released on May 10th, 2005. In which the front cover is Francine, Muffy, Arthur, and Buster, and there's a piece of paper that says exclusive club members, Muffy and Arthur. The spine has Arthur in the PBS Kids logo, and it is red-orange with yellow writing. And the episodes on this DVD are Arthur Goes Crosswire and Buster's Growing Grudge, which are both episodes from Season 3, and Poor Muffy from Season 1. And I'm going to read the description for those episodes. For Arthur Goes Crosswire, it says, since they rescued Wilbur Rabbit, the guy who plays Bionic Bunny on TV, Arthur and Muffy have been inseparable. Arthur figures it's best that friends of Wilbur stick together anyway, but the rest of their friends are growing tired of the new Arthur. Can he be demuffified? And then for Buster's Growing Grudge, it says Buster's convinced that his great joke will be the difference between a successful oral report and failure. But when Binky steals his material, will Buster stay mad forever? And then for Poor Muffy, it says, a new carpet and an attack of sneezing means that Muffy must spend the weekend at Francine's. For Poor Muffy, this means sharing a room and eating leftovers. Can their friendship possibly survive? Here are the sponsors on this DVD. Chuck E. Cheese's and Road 60-second cinnamon rolls. The disc is a darker red with yellow writing. And here's what the contents say on this DVD. Next up, we have the 2005 DVD release of Arthur Goes on a Field Trip, released on May 10th, 2005. And the front cover has a picture of Arthur Andy W. with Arthur holding a camera and DW reading a newspaper. The spine has dots, PBS Kids logo, and it is orange with dark blue writing. And it's got the episodes The Return of the King, DW Goes to Washington, and Sleep No More. The Return of the King's from Season 3, DW Goes to Washington is from Season 2, and Sleep No More is from Season 5. And I'm going to read the description for those episodes. For The Return of the King, it says, a field trip to medieval science fair pits Arthur's class against another led by Ratburn's super tough mentor, Mr. Price Jones. Arthur and the gang suffered defeat after humiliating defeat against the smarter, stronger competitors. Can Arthur save the day and be crowned king? And then for DW Goes to Washington, it says that for DW Goes to Washington, it says that DW's on her way to Washington. Someone should have called ahead and warned the government. She's bored by it all until she gets lost during a tour of the White House. a kind employee reunites her with her family and invites them all in for pizza. Come to think of it, the guy sure has a nice office. And doesn't he look a little familiar? And then for Sleep No More, it says, have you ever been so excited that you couldn't sleep? When the gang visits Pizza Paula's, Buster is convinced that the all-you-can-eat contest free pizza for life is his destiny. But how can he possibly win such an important contest without any sleep? And here are the sponsors. The disc is also orange with dark blue writing. And here's what the contents say on the piece of paper for this DVD. Next up, we have the 2002 DVD release of Arthur Goes to the Doctor, released on June 11th of 2002. The front cover is the doctor checking on Arthur with a stethoscope, and DW is watching. The spine has Dash's PBS Kids logo, and it is light orange with dark orange writing. In the back, and it lists the episodes Arthur's Knee from Season 2, Buster's Breathless from Season 4, and The Lousy Week from Season 5. Now I'm going to read the description. For Arthur's Knee, it says Arthur's hurt his knee, but he won't tell his mom because then she'd know he'd been playing down at the dump where he was not allowed to go. Can the Brain and DW convince Arthur to face up to it and take his tetanus shot like a man? And Aardvark. Then for Buster's Breathless, it says, will Buster's friends ever treat him the same after they learn that he has asthma? Find out on a guided tour through Buster's lungs. And then for the Lousy Week, it says, an army of lice has descended upon the heads of Lakewood Elementary. Who or what is strong enough to defeat them? Principal Haney? Nurse Flynn? Mayonnaise? Now, what is very weird about this DVD is that although it came out in 2002, the packaging says 2001 for some reason. And that's because the VHS came out in September 2001 before it was released on DVD a year later in 2002. And here are the sponsors, and they are Libby's Juicy Juice, Post Alphabets, and Lego. Here's the disc for Arthur Goes to the Doctor. It is yellow with orange writing on the disc. And here's what the contents say on the piece of paper on the disc about the disc. All right. Next up is the 2002 DVD release of Arthur, It's Only Rock and Roll, starring the Backstreet Boys. What is Very interesting about this Arthur special, Arthur It's Only Rock and Roll, is that Arthur It's Only Rock and Roll aired on television in September of 2002 to prepare for a brand new season of Arthur, which would premiere on October 2002. Back on October 8th of 2002, that's when a new season of Arthur would begin, and that, of course, being season 7 of Arthur, which would air 1 month after Arthur It's Only Rock and Roll aired on television. And this DVD was released on October 1st, 2002, which is exactly 1 week before season 7 of Arthur aired on PBS. Not to mention, it does have Mark Rendell voicing Arthur and Jason Swimer doing the voice of DW, as this special was produced during season 7 because Mark Rendell and Jason Swimer also voiced Arthur and DW in season 7 and in season 8 as well. And then Jason Swimer continued voicing DW in seasons 9 to 10, but Cameron Ansell started taking over doing the voice of Arthur beginning in season 9. So it would feature 2 exclusive songs performed by the Backstreet Boys. The spine has no PBS Kids logo, and it is sky blue with red writing. And I'm going to read the description for Arthur It's Only Rock and Roll. It says, the Backstreet Boys are coming to Elwood City. While Muffy fantasizes about meeting her idol, Nick Carter, Francine writes about everyone's infatuation with a bunch of sellouts. Fed up with the hype, Francine forms her own anti-sellout band, You Stink. But when You Stink becomes an overnight sensation, the band suffers an identity crisis and Francine quits in a huff. Will You Stink rise to sellout stardom without Francine? Will the Backstreet Boys make Muffy their manager? There's only one way to find out. And the only sponsor on this DVD is Post Alphabets. And here's the disc for Arthur It's Only Rock and Roll. It is also sky blue with red writing. And here's what the contents say on the piece of paper for this DVD. All right. Next up, we go into the 2005 DVD release of Arthur Makes a Movie, released on May 10th of 2005. Now, the front cover, and I know that the front cover for Arthur It's Only Rock and Roll just has Arthur with the Backstreet Boys, but the front cover for Arthur Makes a Movie has Arthur wearing a bow tie, and Muffy is making a video with a camera. It also includes Free Great Adventures. And the spine is dark red with light orange writing, and it has Dot's PBS Kids logo. And it's got the episodes Arthur Makes a Movie from Season 2, Francine Frensky Superstar from Season 1, and Arthur the Unfunny from Season 2. Now, I'm going to read the description for those episodes. For Arthur Makes a Movie, it says, too young to see a real James Hound movie. The kids decide they'll make a film of their own. With Muffy directing and Arthur playing the dashing urban hero, how bad could it be? Don't answer that. And then for Francine Frensky Superstar, it says, now that Francine finally has the lead in the school play, she has become a stage tyrant. Moments before curtain, Francine's stardom has completely gone to her head. Can the show still go on? And then for Arthur the Unfunny, it says, Arthur's a notorious joke killer. But when he's scheduled to perform as a carnival clown, Arthur decides he'll learn how to make people laugh or else. And by the way, the only sponsor on this DVD is Chuck E. Cheese's. Just like Arthur Goes on a Field Trip, released the same day. And here's the disc for Arthur Makes a Movie, which is yellow with dark red writing on the disc. And here's what the contents say on the DVD. Alright, next up is this DVD of Arthur Makes the Team, released January 27th of 2004. The front cover has Arthur about to hit a baseball with a baseball bat. And it also includes free Great Adventures. The spine has Arthur in the PBS Kids logo, and it is dark blue with light green writing. And the episodes on this DVD are Arthur Makes the Team and Meek for a Week, which are both from Season 1, and then Arthur the Loser from Season 2. And I'm going to read the description for those. For Arthur Makes the Team, it says, it's baseball season, and Arthur and the gang all sign up to play. Coach Frinsky's challenge is to work with a team where everyone wants to pitch, and no one knows the meaning of the word teamwork. And then for Meek for a Week, it says, Muffy bets Francine that she can't be nice to everyone for a whole week. Francine is to keep the bet a secret. The trouble is the gang begins to worry that Francine isn't herself. And then for Arthur the Loser, it says, there's only one thing in life Arthur really wants, and that's to say, I win, like the kids he sees on TV. But whether he's playing basketball or a brand new board game, Arthur just can't stop losing. Is it really so wrong to cheat a little? And here are the sponsors on this DVD on the back cover. It says Teddy Grahams on the back, but the Teddy Grahams ad is not shown. It has the Post Alphabets ad instead. A lot of those 2004 releases sometimes use the Post Alphabets ad on the screen, even though Teddy Grahams is on the back. There are a couple of releases where Post Alphabets is on the back, but with the Teddy Grahams ad on the screen. But yeah. And there are even some with Teddy Grahams being correctly sponsored on the back because of the Teddy Grahams ad also appearing on the screen. So Juicy Juice, Teddy Grahams, and Chuck E. Cheese's on the back cover. The disc is light green with dark blue writing on the other hand. And here's what the contents say on the piece of paper right there. Next up, we go into the 2004 DVD release of Arthur Saves the Day, which is also released January 27th of 2004. And the front cover has Arthur, Francine, and the Brain all holding hands and shaking hands, I believe. There's also a picture of the tree house right there. The spine has Dots PBS Kids logo, and it is light orange with dark purple writing. And here are the episodes. They are Buster Baxter Cat Saver from Season 2, DW All Wet from Season 1, and The Big Blow Up from Season 2. Now I'm going to read the description. For Buster Baxter Cat Saver, it says a cat gets stuck in a tree and Buster Baxter saves the day. Risking life and limb, well, actually the cat just jumped and landed on him. It's not every day that your best friend is lionized, canonized, and just plain admired. And Arthur, for one, is sick of it. And then for DW All Wet, it says, the beach, the glorious beach, the crowded, sun-dazzled beach. The Reeds are having a wonderful time, except for DW, who simply refuses to have fun. Doesn't everyone know there are octopuses in the water? And help! Arthur's being attacked by one! Will DW come to the rescue? And then for the big blow up, it says, when two very opinionated friends butt heads, look out! Can Francine and the Brain put aside their differences, their rancor, as Brain would describe it, for the good of the soccer team? Probably not, so Arthur and Buster decide to right some wrongs. And here are the sponsors on the back cover. Juicy Juice, Post Alphabets, and Chuck E. Cheese's. And here's the disc, and it is yellow with blue writing on the disc. All right. Next up, we go into the 2003 DVD release of Arthur Writes a Story, released on June 10th of 2003, in which the front cover on this DVD has a picture of Arthur writing his story with a piece of paper and some pencil, and he's imagining an elephant as well. The spine has Dash's PBS Kids logo, and it is light blue with red writing. And this contains the episodes Arthur Writes a Story and Locked in the Library, which are both from Season 1, and I'd Rather Read It Myself from Season 3. And I'm going to read the description for these episodes. For Arthur Writes a Story, it says, struggling with a school writing assignment, Arthur decides that all he needs is a little imagination to make his life sound more interesting than it really is. But he crosses the line when the story of how he got his puppy starts to involve invisible elephants and trips to outer space. And then for Locked in the Library, it says, if only Arthur hadn't called Francine a marshmallow. Now, they're locked inside the Elwood City Library together. And they either have to make up or face the long, scary night alone. And then for I'd Rather Read It Myself, it says the Tibble twins are better than DW at just about everything. They can yell louder, bounce higher, and even get dizzier. It would be great if DW could at least read before the Tibbles could. Can she spin its tail dazzling enough to convince them she can? And here are the sponsors on the back cover of this DVD. Libby's Juicy Juice, Post Alphabets, and Chuck E. Cheese's. Here's the disc for Arthur Writes a Story, which is also light blue with red writing. Here are the contents for what it says on the disc. Next up, we go into the 2003 DVD release of Arthur's Baby, also released on June 10th of 2003. And the front cover has Arthur holding a crying baby Kate, and Arthur is looking very, very surprised. It includes free great adventures. The spine has Dot's PBS Kids logo, and it's light blue with bright purple writing. And it has the episodes Arthur's Baby, DW's Baby, and Arthur Babysits, all of which are from Season 1. And I'm going to read the description for each of those episodes. For Arthur's Baby, it says, Arthur is not so sure he's ready for a new baby in the house. As the months fly by, Arthur imagines how his life is about to change, and it isn't a pretty picture. When the baby finally does arrive, it seems that if she doesn't like Arthur very much either. Or does she? And then for DW's Baby, it says, living with a baby is no picnic. No one ever told DW that babies cry all the time, throw up on your clothes, and get all the attention. Just how long will baby Kate hang around anyway? And then for Arthur Babysits, it says, You think running a marathon is hard? Try babysitting for the terrible Tibble twins. First, you'll have to find them. Then, you'll have to deal with the throw all your food on the floor trick and to tie your babysitter to a chair game. Clearly, this is a job for Swamp Thing. And here are the sponsors on the back cover of this DVD. Libby's Juicy Juice, Post Alphabets, and Chuck E. Cheese's. And here is the disc for Arthur's Baby. It's light blue with a darker purple writing on the disc. And here's what the contents say on the DVD. Next up, we go into the 2003 DVD release of Harper's Best Friends, also released on June 10th of 2003. And the front cover has Arthur and Buster looking at a book and with a picture and hanging out at the treehouse as well. And the spine has Dash's PBS Kids logo, and it is bright blue with yellow writing. Or a bright sky blue with yellow writing. And it's got the episodes DW's Dear Friend and Arthur's Faraway Friend, which are both from Season 2, and Buster's Back, which is the premiere episode of Season 3. And now I'm going to read the description for each of those episodes. For DW's Dear Friend, it says, the Reeds go on a camping trip and DW wants to bring a little bit of nature back home. A rather large deer named Walter. And then for Arthur's Faraway Friend, it says, Arthur's in the midst of writing a great adventure story with Buster when he gets some very bad news. Buster is leaving town to spend time with his dad for a while. Is this the end of their story? Is it the end of their friendship? And then for Buster's Back, it says, Buster's coming home today. The world spreads fast, but so does the fear that Buster will be different somehow. He has been traveling all over the world and even visited countries where they eat snails and stuff. Will he ever want to hang out with plain old Arthur again? Here are the sponsors on the back cover of this DVD. And here's this disc, and this time it is light orange with light blue writing. And here's what the contents say on the paper. Next up, we go into the 2002 DVD release of Arthur's Best School Days, released June 11th of 2002. And the front cover is Arthur and Mrs. McGrady. Arthur with Mrs. McGrady, and there's also some ice cream on the front cover as well, which I assume is from the episode Arthur World's Greatest Gleeper, but that episode is not on this DVD. The spine has dots, PBS Kids logo, and it is sky blue with light orange writing. And it's got the episodes Arthur and the Square Dance from Season 2, Teen Trouble from Season 1, and Buster Hits the Books, which is another Season 2 episode. And I'm going to read the description for these episodes. For Arthur and the Square Dance, it says, does Francine have a crush on Arthur? That's what Binky thinks, and soon even Arthur is beginning to wonder. Can Arthur avoid Francine and her cooties for the rest of his life? And then for Teen Trouble, it says, Arthur, Francine, and Buster have to do a report on ancient Rome, but can they work as a team to complete the assignment? And then Buster Hits the Books. For Buster Hits the Books, it says, Buster has 1 week to finish a whole entire book with chapters and write about it. Since he's gotten through school without ever reading a book, will he live to tell the tale? And here are the sponsors on the back cover of this DVD. Here's the disc, which is sky blue with yellow writing. And here's what the contents say on the DVD. For the piece of paper. On the piece of paper for the DVD, I should say. All right. It's okay. We got through Arthur cracks the case, Arthur gets lost, Arthur gets spooked, Arthur goes crosswire, Arthur goes on the field trip, Arthur goes to the doctor, Arthur it's only rock and roll, Arthur makes a movie, Arthur makes a team, Arthur saves the day, Arthur writes his story, Arthur's baby, Arthur's best friends. We finished Arthur's best school days. Now we're going to move into the DVD of Arthur's Chicken Pox, with the release date being October 5th of 2004. The front cover has Arthur laying in the bed, taking his temperature in the mouth, and as you can tell, it looks like he got infected with chicken pox on the front cover. Spine is red-orange with white writing, which I assume was originally yellow, but anyway. And it has Dash's PBS Kids logo on the front cover, on the spine as well. Red-orange with white writing and with Dash's PBS Kids logo. In the back, it lists the episodes Arthur's Chicken Pox and Arthur and the True Francine, which are from Season 1, and Double Tipple Trouble from Season 3. I'm going to read the description for each of those episodes. For Arthur's Chicken Pox, it says, the circus is in town and the whole family is excited. Dad gets the tickets, Mom gets film for the camera, and Arthur gets chicken pox. DW is jealous of all the attention he is getting. But will Arthur recover in time for the circus? And then for Arthur and the True Francine, it says, despite their differences, Muffy and Francine are absolute best friends. It seems nothing can come between them until Muffy cheats on a math test and lets Francine take the blame. And then for Double Tibble Trouble, it says, playing with the Tibble twins requires preparation, endurance with earplugs. But when one gets sick, playing with the other should be a lot easier, shouldn't it? Here are the sponsors. Libby's Juicy Juice, Teddy Grahams, and Chuck E. Cheese's. The Teddy Grahams ad is not shown on the CVD. It has the post-alphabets ad. Like I said before, Sony Wonder has made a habit on some of those Arthur DVDs in 2004 where Teddy Grahams is mistakenly sponsored on the back cover, but the post-alphabets ad is on the screen. However, there are some releases that have Teddy Grahams sponsored on the back cover and on the screen correctly. And there are a couple that have post-alphabets on the back cover, but with the Teddy Grahams ad on the screen as well. And it also has the Avenger Chuck on the back cover of this Arthur DVD as it's a late 2004 release. From October 5th, 2004. Yeah, and others such as Arthur Saves the Day, where post-alphabets is on the back and on the screen, in addition to most of the 2002 and in addition to all the 2002 and 2003 releases as well. So the sponsors in the back say Libby's Juicy Juice, Teddy Grahams, and Chuck E. Cheese's. Here's the disc for Arthur's Chicken Pox. And it is yellow with blue writing on the disc, which is exactly different from the spine. Yeah, and it is also less than a week before PBS Kids Go premiered. You are correct. Here's what the contents say on the piece of paper. As you're well aware, there's a piece of paper that now reads the contents on the DVD and how the DVD opens and closes with, and what the. As you're aware of it now, there's a piece of paper on every Arthur DVD that tells us how each DVD of Arthur would open and close with. Which is why I'm not explaining the openings and closings in this video. All right. Next up, I have the 2005 DVD release of Arthur's Computer Adventure, released on June 14th, 2005. The front cover is Arthur looking like he's going to get in trouble because of the worried expression on his face, and it has a picture of the computer being all staticky. The spine is Dash's PBS Kids logo, and it is yellow with blue writing. And it contains the episodes Arthur's Computer Adventure, which is actually called Arthur the Wrecker, and it's from Season 1. Arthur versus the Piano from Season 2, and Arthur's Lucky Pencil from Season 2. Now I'm going to read the description for each of those episodes. For Arthur's Computer Adventure, it says, Arthur always seems to wreck stuff, and this time it's Mom's computer. Not a great situation when your mom is an accountant, and it's tax season. Now, Arthur needs to fix the computer before Mom finds out. And then for Arthur versus the Piano, it says, after getting stage fright during a rehearsal, Arthur is terrified of playing the piano in front of a real audience. Will he be able to get through his recital without any mistakes? And then for Arthur's Lucky Pencil, it says, Arthur discovers the secret to success. A pencil that brings good luck to whoever possesses it. Trouble is, pencils have a bad habit of getting shorter each time they're sharpened. Pretty soon, Arthur's entire future rests on a small stub of lead. Here are the sponsors. Chuck E. Cheese's and Rose 60-second cinnamon rolls. Here's the disc for Arthur's Computer Adventure. It's also yellow with blue writing. And here's what the contents say on the piece of paper. Next up, I have the 2004 DVD release of Arthur's Eyes, released on June 8th of 2004. The front cover has Arthur putting on his glasses. Or putting his glasses on. There are also different glasses on the front cover as well. Includes free great adventures. The spine is tan with teal writing. And it has dots, PBS Kids logo. And the back. And it says for Arthur's Eyes, it has the episodes Arthur's Eyes, Francine's Bad Hair Day, which are both from Season 1, and Draw from Season 2. Now I'm going to read the description for each of those episodes. For Arthur's Eyes, it says, for some reason, Arthur isn't doing very well in school anymore. Maybe he just needs glasses. Problem is, he doesn't want to be seen wearing them. As much as Arthur hates wearing his new glasses, he can see better. And it seems he's started a trend. And then for Francine's Bad Hair Day, it says it's school picture day, and Muffy is determined that Francine will look her best. But no matter how hard she tries, Francine just can't keep her new look together. And then for Draw, it says, the trouble starts when Fern draws a not too flattering cartoon of Francine, who sort of deserved it. After all, she did call Fern a mouse. This mouse really roars, and soon everyone is drawing nasty cartoons of Francine. Poor Francine pretends not to care, but it's not much fun being a punchline. Here are the sponsors on this back cover. And the disc is also tan with teal writing. And here's what the piece of paper says on the left, right here. for this DVD. Next up, I am going into the 2003 DVD release of Arthur's Family Fun, released on January 14th of 2003. And the front cover has Arthur and Pal the dog and DWN and their parent and their dad, and they're making a brand new souffle cake, which is from the end of the episode Arthur's Family Feud. The spine has Dot's PBS Kids logo, and it is dark orange with yellow writing. And it's got the episodes Arthur and Los Vecinos from Season 6, and it is the original Justin Bradley version on this DVD. Sue Ellen's Little Sister from Season 2, and Arthur's Family Feud from Season 5. And then I'm going to read the description for those episodes. For Arthur and Los Vecinos, it says, Mr. Sipple from next door is moving away, and Arthur wonders who will be the new neighbors. Yeah, it is very weird. So it says, Mr. Sipple from next door is moving away, and Arthur wonders who will be the new neighbors. When Alberto Molina and his family settle in, Arthur makes a new friend and learns about a different culture and about a comic book character named Conejitos Mechanicos, which of course that's Spanish for bionic bunny. That's what it says right here. What I think should have happened was they should have put the episode The Half-Baked Sale on Arthur's Family Fun, since it focuses on Grandma Flora cooking, and none of the episodes on this DVD involve around her, so that's why I think that episode, The Half-Baked Sale, should have been on there, and that's why I think Arthur's Family Feud should have been on Arthur Loses His Marbles. That would be a better DVD to use that episode. So, for Sue Ellen's Little Sister, it says, Arthur and Francine would love to lend their sisters to Sue Ellen, who's sick of being an only child. But Sue Ellen realizes that you should be careful what you wish for. And then for Arthur's Family Feud, it says, who ruined Dad's perfect souffle? The only thing Arthur and DW can agree on is that poor Pal was an unwitting accomplice. To solve this whodunit, Mom and Dad listen to both sides, and the siblings demonstrate some very imaginative storytelling. Now, the sponsors on this DVD are Libby's Juicy Juice, Post Alphabets, and Chuck E. Cheese's, but the Chuck E. Cheese's ad is not shown on this DVD because this is a very early 2003 release from the beginning of 2003 in January. And here's the disc for Arthur's Family Fun, which is yellow with dark orange writing. And here's what the piece of paper says for the contents for this DVD. That was my reaction when I popped in the DVD of Arthur's Snow Day. Because I thought the Chuck E. Cheese's ad was going to be shown on that DVD, but it wasn't. But oh well. Alright. Next up is a DVD release of Arthur's Family Vacation, released on June 8th of 2004. The front cover has Arthur's mom holding baby Kate, and Arthur's dad is holding a camera. And DW is laying in the sand with Arthur covering her. The spine has Arthur in the PBS Kids logo, and it is blue with yellow writing. Blue with yellow writing. And the back, it's got the episodes Arthur's Family Vacation, Grandpa Dave's Old Country Farm, and Arthur's Almost Boring Day, which are all from season 1. And then, of course, I'm going to read the description for each of those episodes. For Arthur's Family Vacation, it says, "What's got moldy back brooms, lumpy beds, and lots of rain? Arthur's Family Vacation. And for this, he missed camp. But as Arthur discovers there are lots of fun things to do in the rain, and being with his family is not half bad either." And then for Grandpa Dave's Old Country Farm, it says, "Arthur and DW spend a week at their grandfather's farm. Grandpa Dave is a lot of fun, but the farm isn't quite the same as Arthur remembers it. It really needs a lot of work. Can Arthur and DW convince Grandpa Dave to accept their help?" And then for Arthur's Almost Boring Day, it says, "It's raining, it's pouring, and boy is it boring. DW and Arthur have played every game they know and even worn their crayons out. But then in Grandma Fora's attic, Arthur and DW discover some really fascinating stuff about their parents." Here are the sponsors on this DVD. Which sponsor order do you remember when you watched the episodes Arthur Plays the Blues and Buster's Sweet Success from season 6, Jeremy Barden? If you don't notice, that's okay. Here are the sponsors on the back cover. And here's the disc, which is yellow with blue writing. And here's what the piece of paper says for the contents on this DVD. Next up, I have the 2003 DVD release of Arthur's Famous Friends. Arthur's Famous Friends released on January 14th, 2003 on DVD, even though it was released March 21st, 2000 on VHS. The front cover is Arthur with pictures of Mr. Rogers, Yo-Yo Ma, and Joshua Redman, and Jack Perlutsky, respectively. The spine has Dash's PBS Kids logo. And it is green with bright purple writing. And what about for the season 7 funding, Jeremy Barden? Anyway, the episodes for this DVD of Arthur's Famous Friends are Arthur Meets Mr. Rogers from Season 2, featuring Mr. Rogers. I'm a Poet from Season 1, featuring Jack Perlutsky, and My Music Rules from Season 4, featuring Yo-Yo Ma and Joshua Redman. And I'm going to read the description for each of those episodes. For Arthur Meets Mr. Rogers, it says, Mr. Rogers is staying at Arthur's house. That's the bad news. The good news is that nobody knows about it. Yet, I mean, Mr. Rogers is a nice guy and all, and he really understands kids, and he's a lot of fun. But his show is for babies. Can Arthur keep his friends in the dark? And then 4. I'm a Poet. It says, challenged by Fern to enter a poetry contest. Arthur and his friends each write a poem to be judged by the well-known children's poet, Jack Perlutsky. And then for My Music Rules, it says, it's the duo of the century as cellist Yo-Yo Ma faces jazz saxophonist Joshua Redman in the toughest gig of their careers in the Elwood City Library. Whose music will rule after the greats duke it out in the battle of classical versus jazz? And here are the sponsors on the back cover. It says Libby's Juicy Juice Post Alphabets and Lego, but actually the older Libby's Juicy Juice ad from late season 1 to season 4 is used on the DVD, along with the Baby Gap ad being shown instead of the Lego ad on this DVD. And here's the disc for Our First Famous Friends, which is green with a slightly darker purple writing. Here are the contents on the piece of paper. Next up is the 2004 DVD release of Arthur's First Sleepover, released on August 3rd of 2004. The front cover has Arthur, Buster, and the Brain in sleeping bags and resting on a pillow. The spine is Arthur and the PBS Kids logo, and it with light blue writing. And the back has the episodes Arthur's First Sleepover and Arthur's Lost Dog, which are both from season 1, and Water in the Brain from season 2. For Arthur's First Sleepover, it says, "Have you ever been afraid of the dark? Despite DW's threat of aliens, Arthur sets his tent for his first sleepover. DW's mad that she can't be a part of the sleepover, but she'll have some fun of her own with the help of alien lights. But who will have the last joke? Arthur and his friends, DW, or the aliens?" And then for Arthur's Lost Dog, it says, "Unfortunately, Arthur is the only one who believes in the superior intelligence of his dog, Pal. But even Arthur gets confused when Pal runs away at a local parade. Is Pal unhappy at home, or does Pal's disappearance have something to do with baby Kate's hysterics?" And then for Water in the Brain, it says, "Is Brain a snob? That seems to be the only explanation for why he won't go to Waterworld with the rest of his friends." But Arthur concludes that theory is all wet as he tries to discover what's really bugging Brain. Now, here are the sponsors. For some reason, the funding for Arthur's provided by Screen appears twice on this DVD, apparently, instead of once. The disc is light blue with dark purple writing on it. And here's what the contents say on the piece of paper for the DVD. Next up is the 2002 DVD release of Arthur's Great Summer, released on June 11th of 2002. The front cover has Arthur and Buster riding on a boat, and Francine is sitting on a float. The spine has Dot's PBS Kids logo, and it's dark green with yellow writing. And the back lists the episodes Arthur Goes to Camp from Season 1, The Shore Thing from Season 5, and The Short Quick Summer from Season 2. Now I'm going to read the description for those episodes. For Arthur Goes to Camp, it says, Arthur and his friends go to sleepaway camp where it's strictly the boys versus the girls. In all of their contests, who will come out the winner? And then for the Shore Thing, it says, Arthur and DW begged their dad to take them to Aqualand, the coolest water park ever. But he says that he knows an even better place, Ocean Zone. How cool can it be if Arthur and DW haven't even heard of it? And then for the Short Quick Summer, it says, Arthur is shocked to find that summer vacation is over when it seems like it just started. What about all these great fun things he intended to do? Here are the sponsors in the back. Here's the disc for Arthur's Great Summer. It's also dark green with yellow writing. Here's what the piece of paper says. Then we go to the 2004 DVD release of Arthur's Lost Library book, released on January 27th of 2004. The front cover has a picture of Arthur with a very worried expression, with a piece of paper that says Lost, and there's a stack of books on the front cover as well. The spine is Arthur and the PBS Kids logo, and it's orange with dark green writing. In the back lists the episodes Arthur's Lost Library book, DW's Imaginary Friend, and they are both from Season 1, of course, and DW's Library Card from Season 4. Now, for Arthur's Lost Library book, it says, Arthur was the first to take out the new Scare Your Pants Off book from the library. A week later, he can't seem to figure out where he put it. Something's weird. It couldn't have just walked off, or could it? And then for DW's Imaginary Friend, it says, someone only DW can see has moved in with the Reeves. Her name is Nadine, and she follows DW everywhere. But when DW insists on bringing Nadine to his amusement park, Arthur flips out. Must he be embarrassed by DW in front of all his friends? In front of all his friends? And then for DW's library card, it says when DW discovers that she can get her own library card, she rejoices at the world of books waiting for her. Now, if only she could sign her name to get the card in the first place. By the way, this is part 1 where we just focus on the Sony Wonder titles because, believe me, I have quite a lot of those Sony Wonder releases. Here is the scene index. Here's the disc for Arthur's Lost Library book. It's also orange with dark green writing. And here's what the contents on this piece of paper say for Arthur's Lost Library book. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take a break here and stuff, so we'll do another part sometime later.